So hi everyone and welcome to this year's Christmas Trends webinar for 2024. I'm Nikki, the founder of Press Loft, and I'm here today with Amy, who's our marketing assistant and looks after all things trends on Press Loft. So I thought I would just start with giving you a little bit of an intro as to how we actually forecast trends on Press Loft. So first of all, we look at Press Loft data, and that makes up the majority of our search terms. So we look at trending data, what media are searching for right now. We look at patterns in the past 20 years of media activity. So if there was a trend last year and it was really big, it's kind of unlikely to also be just as big this year. The other thing that we look at are the images that are being uploaded. So those early images, those early festive images, what patterns are there that we can see in those? And then we look through the rest of the site, particularly in the fashion side of things, and see what's coming and what patterns, again, that there are. We often see that there are trends in fashion from a year to 6 months ahead, and then they transfer into interiors and gifting. Then Amy, I know you look a lot on the social media channels, so TikTok, Pinterest trends. We love Pinterest Predicts, so really recommend you having a look at those. Then Etsy trends as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, it's something I've only recently started keeping an eye on, which I probably should have started earlier, not gonna lie. But it's a really valuable resource. They basically comb lots of data from Etsy itself, just to shape some of their forecasts for the seasons ahead, just to let people know what kinds of products are really high in demand.
Brilliant. So that's one that's new to me as well. So that one's great. And then Google Trends, we all use those a lot as well. Then on the fashion side, we do look at the top tier titles and we look at thought leaders in the fashion space because, again, we find that those trends tend to come through into interiors and gifting later. So in terms of what's made the final cut, what we find is that every year there are things like reds, roundups, greens, whites, stocking fillers, metallics, gifts for her. But in this report, what we're looking at are the new and the novel trends, the things that we think will get the highest amount of searches, of readers, of purchases. And that's how we decide on this final. How many are in there? I think it's 14, 13.
13, I believe.
13. So that's how
Yeah.
we curate it right down. But we do this year have a list of strong contenders that we think are worth mentioning, and we'll give you those at the end. So you'll notice that some of these trends are more viral, visual trends that we think will make great reels and great article click-throughs. And then some are more about what we think that people will actually buy. So those consumer purchasing trends. And you'll see the difference as we go. So Amy, over to you now.
Yes, well, like Nikki mentioned, we like to use a combination of different resources when it comes to actually compiling our trends for the season ahead. Especially when it comes to Christmas, we like to get started as early as we can. As we've mentioned, it started building up traction on the platform. We've already been seeing downloads from different publications, and it's currently our top search at the
Yeah.
minute, actually, as well, which is brilliant. So hopefully these themes will help some of you if when it comes to your product shoots or even sourcing some of your Christmas collections if you're still working on those. But I also hope that it'll help maybe some of our media members if they're looking for specific themes they can hone in on for their festive features. So alongside the trend booklet, which will again be available to download once this recording has made it to our video library, we will be compiling trends on the platform as and when we spot things that'll be popular. Maybe it's a micro trend that goes viral on TikTok or something broader that's building up a bit of traction over the next couple of months. So to make sure you don't miss out on those, you can sign up for free trend alerts via our trend page. Just pop in your email and they'll go straight to your inbox.
And I've just shared the link to that. If you scroll up in the chat, there's a link to where the video will be and also where you can sign up for the trend alerts.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's dive into some of our core picks for 2024. So to start us off, we have bow accents. So obviously decorating with bows isn't something entirely new. In fact, it's a very traditional element. But over the last year alone, the popularity for this particular detail has completely snowballed, especially in fashions and decor. So we see it coming to life through dresses and accessories, think like bow themed earrings, even necklaces. But we might even see it in some of our decor elements, such as our serveware. So we've seen a few brands putting together ceramics with painted bow motifs, or the really traditional sense of bows on Christmas trees, as you can see in the imagery here. So whether they're oversized and dramatic or small and delicate, bows play a bring a really playful and sophisticated charm, and it captures the spirit of the season really easily. So if you're looking to showcase this trend in some of your photo shoots, maybe try experimenting with different color combinations. Maybe something really cohesive and minimal to work with whatever products you're highlighting, or if you're a bit going for something bolder, maybe a more eclectic maximalist look will work with bolder hues. You can also play around with different patterns and textures. So think really rich velvets, satins, mesh is also really good when it comes to like bigger bows that you need something a bit more structurally sound. But just depending on the type of vibe you're trying to create with your imagery, there's loads of different options. This particular look is really easy when it comes to your photo shoots as well. It's a very easy and cost-effective look to replicate. So say you're a brand trying to make the most out of one photo shoot, it's a really good option for you to weave in for your Christmas seasons, and then you can take it out and then move on to, say, spring colors or summer accessories as well. Then next up at number 2, we have Scrooge core. So this one's one of my favorites, which I've mentioned to Nikki before. I just think it's a really standout look, and it's just not something you normally think of for the festive season. So when people think of Christmas, they automatically imagine those typical holly jolly reds, greens, glitters, gold, all of that. But this trend aims to sort of flip the script on that a little bit and challenge tradition to bring a unique twist to the holiday celebrations. The one thing to note is it's not anti-Christmas at all or all bah humbug. It is very much just an alternative way to weave in traditional elements of the season. So this particular look is brought to life through a focus on really deep, moody hues. So think charcoal grays, classic blacks, deep dark greens, as well as elements of tongue-in-cheek humor as well. So imagine decor items like playful ornaments and accessories. Take, for example, the stocking and the crackers from Rocket St. George, which is the perfect embodiment of this trend. You can also see it in striking wreaths and garlands made up of dark foliage, and even gift wrap with quirky patterns or potentially even gothic elements as well. So when researching this trend, we spotted a few similar terms under the Christmas umbrella on Pinterest trends that have been picking up popularity over the last month or so, just when the first little bits of Christmas traffic has started to come onto that platform. So one is dark Christmas and the other is Victorian Christmas. So be sure to look out for those if you need a bit more of that visual inspiration for the look. If you're looking to weave this into some of your festive shoots or maybe use it as a theme for some of your Christmas content, one thing I'd recommend is maybe weaving in vintage inspired pieces. So brass candlesticks, lanterns, things like that that will break up the color palette just a little bit, but still tie in that overall darker aesthetic. So next up, moving on to number 3, we have Homestead, and this is just a really classic look. It blends cozy comforts and nostalgic elements, and these work together to transport us back in time a little bit. It creates this really timeless, nostalgic look that some of us might even find familiar from childhood Christmases as well. So this one is inspired by grandma core, which, yes, I know core gets thrown around a lot when it comes to describing the trends, but it's the most common term used. And it's a trend that's been getting a steady level of popularity over on Pinterest and TikTok throughout the year. So Homestead branches off from that a little bit, and it celebrates heirloom quality pieces and handcrafted details, which work in tandem to create a space that feels really, really timeless. When we were talking about this trend, we just said it's just this quintessential Christmas look that feels like it's been taken right out of a Hallmark movie, which is everybody's guilty pleasure around the festive season. So featuring beautifully crafted quilts, embroidered cushions, hand-sewn ornaments, and vintage-inspired decorations like Little Santa in the corner down here. All of these come together to create spaces that feel inviting and lived in rather than cookie-cutter showroom type images. And with a focus on traditional crafts and textiles, they evoke a sense of warmth and simplicity that's similar with home. So next up we have candy cane stripes. So this is another quintessential Christmas look. But while the name and the images we've chosen might suggest that it's just a very one and done way of doing it with the red and white color palette, we do actually expect it to take on a bit of a different twist and maybe go beyond that traditional color palette. Stripes as a pattern have been having a major moment this year, judging by the demand for them that we've seen on the platform, as well as just some of the wider trends that we've noticed over the past couple of months. So from bold, vibrant hues to subtle, sophisticated tones, stripes can add a really distinct and dynamic element to your holiday decor and your fashion as well. So think striped ribbons on gifts, which ties in really nicely to the bow accents trend we mentioned. Patterned table linens, festive accessories, things that will maybe add a playful yet elegant finishing touch. Of course, that being said, the classic candy cane will still play its part, and it's shown here through like simple glass baubles, but it'll also manifest in our wrapping paper design, gift tags, Christmas crackers, and so much more. So next up, this one is for the maximalists among us, and it's one you'll either love or hate. I myself am a bit on the fence about it. I know Nikki really loves this trend though. I think it would be one of my favorites gifting wise. Look wise, I'm still on the fence. So Tropical Christmas is one theme that aims to capture the warmth and vibrancy of more tropical locales so that they can be woven into holiday celebrations wherever in the world you might be. So this trend infuses traditional holiday elements with a bit of tropical flair, so incorporating brighter colors, exotic florals, even beach and jungle inspired decorations, which will then replace the traditional pine and holly that we're really familiar with. So one way to interpret that is palm trees and leafy plants decorated with tinsel and fairy lights, ornaments featuring pineapples and flamingos, even festive tablescapes with really bold tropical prints. This is a look that's perfect for those who may be lucky enough to be celebrating in warmer climates. I'm not one of them, but I believe Nikki is. Um, but for those of us who are celebrating somewhere colder, it's a really nice option to maybe weave in some sunnier twists to their holiday celebrations. So it's definitely one to keep on your radar for potential Christmas content. And next up, we have statement glassware. Now, this is a bit of a hybrid trend as it works, yes, as a styling trend, as it can work as a focal point of your festive tablescapes, but it will also apply to festive gifts for the season, which we'll go into more detail in a few minutes, as they're the perfect product for anybody who loves to host and entertain, or even just people who want to elevate their everyday drinks. So this trend is all about making your drinks stand out with stylish, eye-catching glassware that adds elegance and a bit of personality to any occasion. So think beautifully designed wine glasses, intricately etched tumblers, colorful cocktail glasses, anything that will add that extra bit of sophistication to your table. These pieces aren't just functional, but they serve as stunning decor, so they're a really good option for the festive season. If you're embracing this trend in some of your content, look out for glassware that has unique shapes, bold colors, or unconventional designs. You can even do maybe collections which tie into different aesthetics to suit different recipients. So something more sleek and modern would be for the clean girl, vintage inspired would be for the old soul, and something more vibrant and eclectic would be for the maximalist. The goal here is to shine a spotlight on glassware that becomes a conversation starter. Okay, and then coming in at number 7 on our list, we have Christmas curb appeal. And this takes us away from our focus on the interior and instead places a spotlight on how consumers can curate their exterior spaces to bring a little bit of festive spirit to any visitors before they've even crossed the threshold of their home. So think beautifully decorated front doors adorned with lush wreaths, garlands, twinkling lights. To go even further as well, be sure to include festive doormats, lanterns, even seasonal planterns that can be used to, complete the look. And when covering this trend, remember that the focus is on decorating front porches and entryways with elements that either reflect personal style or act as an extension of any chosen interiors theme for the season. So whether you prefer the classics, a more rustic look, or something really modern, there are loads of different ways this theme can be utilized in your content in the lead up to the festive season. It really just encourages consumers to use whatever space, big or small, they might have.
There's something I love about that one is the mats. I think that both from a consumer perspective and therefore a media perspective, that festive doormats will be written about heavily. And so if you do have them in your image libraries and your product ranges, do send press releases out, get them onto Press Loft and make them known to media, because I do think they'll be incredibly popular this year.
Mm-hmm. So next up we have DIY details. Obviously the name's quite self-explanatory, but this trend emphasizes the beauty and uniqueness of homemade items for the festive season. So personalized ornaments, hand-knitted stockings, custom-made gift accessories, and any festive finishing touches. So besides offering a more sustainable and cost-effective way to decorate for the holidays, this trend offers a great opportunity to start new traditions where the whole family can get involved. Think creating unique wrapping paper designs with stamps you can use year after year, which you can see here. It's worth noting that Christmas crafts is a search term that quickly gains popularity every year across different platforms. You'll see DIYs popping up over on TikTok and people turning to Pinterest for visual inspiration and going to Google for any blogs that maybe have a breakdown of different ideas. But rather than doing a whole DIY project for your festive shoots, one really easy way to tap into this trend is using the inevitable scraps of paper that are left after wrapping any prop presents and then utilizing them to make some paper chains. These can be scattered throughout the room and it makes a really cohesive look between your chosen gifting theme and any decor you use for your sets. Okay, so next up we have one of our two core color-based trends for the Christmas season this year. And this one is Midnight Blues, and it's a trend that brings the rich, deep tones of the night sky into your holiday decor. So this elegant, sophisticated color palette adds a touch of drama and luxury to your celebrations. The focus here is on incorporating blues in a variety of ways, especially when they're complemented with any metallic pops of color and gold. Think blue velvet ribbons, tinsel, navy ornaments, even shimmering lights in a bluer hue as well. Um, Nods to the trend can be woven into a larger theme, but for those who maybe want to go all in and embrace this trend on a larger scale, consider using it as the base color for your Christmas trees, for your tablescapes, even your wrapping paper as well, so it creates this really seamless look throughout all of your imagery. One micro trend here, which is worth noting, we will go into a little more detail about some other smaller trends at the end, but one worth note here is festive chinoiserie, which you can see by these gorgeous ornaments from Cox and Cox. This particular trend we see being popular as we've seen a little bubbling of interest for it over on Pinterest, and we think it might gain traction over the next coming months, but we'll go into a little more detail at the end. So next up for our color-based trends, we have plum and pine. So this combines regal, deep plum purples with a timeless, rich shade of green that plays such a huge role in our festive decor year after year. And it creates this stunning, sophisticated color palette for Christmas 2024. So to embrace this trend, start with your Christmas tree. Incorporating plum and green ornaments, ribbon, even floral picks as well can add a really nice element of texture. And then you can extend the palette to your wreaths and garlands using a mix of green foliage and plum accents. For any tablescapes you might be featuring, consider using plum candles and candlesticks, green table runners, even a centerpiece that blends the two colors together seamlessly is a really good option. A really simple way to do that is getting a little fruit bowl and then piling it high with glass ornaments that match the colors. It's a super simple prop that a lot of people utilize, but it's a really easy way to bring this trend into your look. One other thing, just don't be afraid to play around with textures to elevate the look as well and add a bit of depth to your imagery. So velvet plum cushions, green satin tablecloth, even the glass ornaments as well can be a simple yet super impactful addition to take this look to a whole new level. So with that, that's the last of our core style trends. So now I'm going to take you through 3 core gifting trends that we see being popular for the next festive season. The first one we have is retro gifting. So retro gifting is a nostalgic nod to the past that brings back classic gifts and vintage inspired items for a charming yet sentimental holiday experience. So it's a trend that celebrates the timeless appeal of yesteryear, offering a treasure trove of vintage inspired presents that evoke a real sense of nostalgia in the recipient. So if you're doing a product roundup around this trend, the focus is on gifts that pay homage to iconic decades gone by, but in a variety of ways. So this could be retro toys, classic board games, Even iconic collectibles that transport the recipients back to simpler times is a really good option. But you should also consider more modern brands who have vintage style clothing, retro kitchenware, even quirky decor items that just capture the essence of a bygone era. Down here we have Decenio and Rose and Grey, which are two really good examples of this, strictly because they're very contemporary brands and they're really contemporary versions of these sort of designs, but they do bring you back to like the 70s and the 80s, especially with this color palette. Whether it's a vinyl rock record player for the music enthusiast or a retro-inspired cocktail set for the home entertainer, retro gifting is a wider thing that offers just a really nice way to niche down your content, but it's still broad enough to have a little something for everyone. Then next up, we have our second key gifting trend, and this one is food for thought. This one celebrates the joy of gifting with a delectable array of food-themed gifts. It's one of my favorites as well. We often see this kind of trend pick up momentum around the spring and summer months because you'll just see a wave of citrus and berry-themed products hit the shelves just ahead of picnic season. But we expect to see this continue throughout the year in a far broader sense. So from cute trinket dishes shaped like vegetables, to even people gifting charming ornaments resembling pastries, which you can see up here. These are just a really eclectic way to, bring in a feast for the senses and the soul for this festive season. So it brings a really quirky twist to gift giving, offering a selection of culinary inspired presents that tantalize the taste buds and delight the eye. So think picture prints with colorful cocktail glasses or cocktails and mouth-watering dishes, kitchen accessories adorned with playful food motifs. One other really lovely example would be like plush food-themed cuddly toys. So one brand that comes to mind when you think of that is Jellycat, which a lot of us are already familiar with, and they have loads of really cute characters that fall really in well with this trend. So keep an eye out for anything similar to that. Then the last one we have for the season is Western influences. And this is a trend that celebrates the rugged charm and adventurous spirit of the frontier, highlighting a range of gifts that give a nod to Western heritage. So this is one theme that's been gaining traction over the past year or so. I think a lot of it comes from Taylor Swift's Eras tour, which I will rave about all the time. But also a little bit from the Barbie movie, which came the year prior. There's obviously other influences as well, but it's really having a comeback in fashion and decor. So it's a trend that encompasses a variety of gift ideas from fashion items and accessories to home decor and toys, all infused with a little Western flair. So if you're looking to weave this trend into any product roundups for the festive season, look for accessories and gifts that feature typical Western style elements. So maybe bandana prints, fringe details, leather accents, things like that. For home decor items, think of rustic picture frames, cowhide rugs, vintage-inspired posters, even playful graphic prints like the ones featured here. We also expect this style to pop up in more novelty items. One that I was chatting to Nikki about was little cowboy boot-shaped things like lighter holders, matchstick holders, things like that as well, which work as really cool, cute stocking filler gifts. Overall, this trend can be used in a variety of ways. You can go very traditional, or you can focus on the more vibrant, playful interpretations of the style, depending on what your focus is for your content. And that is the last of our main trends for the year.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. I think you have nailed them. I love them. But I just wanted to share some that didn't quite make the cut that I think are really worth mentioning, just in case they fit with any of your products or any of your articles coming up. So on the decor and styling front, you did mention festive chinoiserie. This has a little bit of a Bridgerton nod. Bit of Regency. We think Bridgerton may continue. It's obviously second, what was it? What's out
Yeah,
today?
so part 2 of season 3 dropped this morning. So we do see obviously a bit of a spike in popularity for anything Bridgerton themed again for like the next little while, but it does have a bit of a wave or ripple effect. So we expect it influencing a little bit of our festive decor. We actually did a Regency trend last year because of the Queen Charlotte series and all of that, and the fact that it still had a bit of an impact. So I think season 3 will just have renewed that for everybody.
And then folklore inspired decor, again, last year we did mushrooms as a trend that absolutely nailed it. That was really seen a lot in the press last year. We think folklore will continue, slightly fairy cottagecore will carry on. That can be a really beautiful Christmas styling trend for baubles and Christmas trees. Something that I really think will be popular in terms of both purchasing and articles are tree skirts. I think that they are gaining in popularity. We've seen more and more brands release their own. Definitely think it's worth mentioning. If you do have them, do press releases on them, add them to Press Loft. And then one more from the decor and styling side of things, iridescent pearlescent styling. I think that is absolutely beautiful, very, very TikTok friendly, something that I do think it's worth pushing if you have those products. Then from the gifting side of things, we've got Inner Child. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so inner child gifts is, well, inner child is a term that's been thrown around quite a lot for anything that really nurtures childhood elements and things that we might have, moved on from that used to bring us a lot of joy. So these gifts might be hobby related sets, friendship bracelets, really nostalgic gifts, which ties in with retro gifting as well. There's loads of different interpretations of it, but it's basically just bringing a bit of that childhood joy back into your everyday life.
Gorgeous. The friendship bracelets one, I think, is really
Yeah.
lovely and it's going to be popular. Then in terms of jewelry, we think chunky statement jewelry, 80s gift for gifting and Christmas outfits. So those big earrings that you're seeing coming right through fashion now, I think will carry on into Christmas. And another one that you mentioned was mixed metal jewelry. So blending, wearing silver jewelry with gold jewelry. I think this will carry on, and it really does lend itself very well to gifting and also Christmas styling roundups. Then the next one, me time moments. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So it's somewhat similar to the inner child gifting, but it's a bit more grown up, I would say. And it's just about being a bit more selfish and carving out time to prioritize yourself. And this might look different for everybody. So it might be cooking or cocktail sets, it might be subscriptions, it might be more wellness focused gifts as well, like beauty from within and without, or on the outside. Another little thing that I spotted was like blind date with a book. So if you have a really bookish friend, it's one of the perfect things you can give them as well. But yeah, at its very core, it's just going beyond the typical one-dimensional type of self-care that you see thrown around, where it's basically just face masks and that's it. This is more about actually carving out time for yourself to recharge with things that you love.
Lovely, thank you. And then a micro trend here, retro festive aprons. So think frills, gingham, retros, 50s styling. That has a nod to the homestead trend that you mentioned earlier. And then the last one, AI generated prints. So we know Desenio are big on this at the moment. If you have anything that you can hook into AI as a gifting item, definitely do press releases on it. There will be journalists, I suspect, looking for AI related themes to round up together. And so that's it for our trends. In terms of what's next, from the PR perspective, last week I did a webinar all about how to maximize your press coverage at Christmas. So I looked at timelines, I looked about how you use trends for your press releases, in the titles, imagery, styling, affiliate marketing. So do take a look at that on our video channel if you want to know more about that. Get active on Press Loft, add those images, start sending out releases. You can see it's our top search already, so do get active if you have anything relevant. And then from the media perspective, because loads of media are in the audience today, which is great, please do use Press Loft's image search to research for your features, as many of you already do. Amy will have these trends going live over the next few months as we see more and more images coming in from clients, and do sign up for those free trend alerts so that you can instantly get the trends as and when we release them. So that's it for our trend webinar for Christmas 2024. Thanks so much for coming, and don't forget to download your PDF just below this video.